you will all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, and then Ann, if you could do a roll call vote for us.
Certainly. Schmuckel.
Here.
Korn.
Here.
Lapp.
Here.
Gustinelli.
Here.
And McCumber.
Here. And then the first order of business is going to be to elect a chair since Supervisor McManus is not here. Are there any?
Elect Chuck Corn. Support.
All right, do we do a roll call vote for that or no?
I just,
You just accept?
I can accept, you can just say all in favor.
Say aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Onto the agenda. The first item is public comment. Thank you. If any member of the public would like to make a comment, please come to the podium, and if you'd be so kind as to give us your name and address. All right. I think that completes public comment. We'll come back to the board for review and approval of the agenda and statements of conflict. We have a conflict with the...
I have a conflict on unfinished business, public hearing A.
Agreed.
I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda as amended.
Support?
We have a motion and support. Are there any questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. The next item is the consent calendar.
The purpose of the consent calendar is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together to be dealt with in one board motion without discussion. Any member of the board, staff, or the public may ask that any item on the consent calendar be removed therefrom and placed elsewhere on the agenda for full discussion. Such requests will be automatically respected. If any item is not removed from the consent calendar, the action noted in parentheses on the agenda is approved by a single board action adopting the consent calendar. This evening you have minutes, June 10th, 2025, recommend approval. Bills, general fund, $499,959.63, recommend approval. Gordy Frazier, developers escrow fund, stormwater reviews and determinations, utility plan review, oversight and closeout, $11,338.50. General utilities, $3,540. General, $1,025. Park funds, DNR trust fund, $11,093.05 for a total of $26,996.55. Recommend approval. Consideration of proposed zoning ordinance amendment on substantial construction definition and lighting, and set public hearing for July 22nd, 2025. Recommend approval. And consideration of Scussel Property A agricultural rezoning introduction and set public hearing for July 22nd, 2025. Recommend approval.
Is there any member of the board who would like to remove anything from the consent calendar for discussion? Any member of the public or staff? I would entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent calendar.
Support.
We have a motion and support to approve the consent calendar as presented. Are there any questions or comments? A roll call vote, please.
Gustinelli.
Yes.
Schmuckel.
Yes.
McCumber.
Yes.
Lapp.
Yes.
And Korn.
Yes. Item 4, items removed from the consent calendar, none. Number 5, unfinished business. Public hearing for consideration of Resolution 2025-14TA. Order preparation of a Ridgeview Court resurfacing special assessment roll. Do you want to give us a little synopsis?
Yeah, and we've talked about that at great length over the course of months. So this is just part of the process to, establish the special assessment role, which hopefully will be in 2 weeks with board approval. And it will allow the road to be repaired by Elmer's, which was the lowest bidder at the time. and finish that project. Hopefully, the goal is by the end of the year, according to Elmer's. So this is just a step in the process, and I do probably right now I do have a comment from a citizen who couldn't attend, so I just want to share their comments. I'm not sure if I should do it now or wait till after the public hearing.
I think right now would be appropriate.
Okay, so Richard Captain called me today, called him back. He lives at 1594 Ridgeview Court. On behalf of himself and his wife Patricia, they are in favor of this project. They'd like to see it move forward.
We have any other emails or letters?
No other calls, no emails, no letters.
Is there any member of the public who would like to speak to this? Yes, ma'am. If you could please come to the podium. Oh.
Can you come up to the podium? You can state your name and your address.
That way you can be on TV.
Yes, Mary Berry, 1537 Ridgeview Court. My husband and I, Wes, would like to see this move forward ASAP, preferably getting it done this year so prices don't go into the next calendar year and we have another increase.
That's our hope, too. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that it gets done this year. Do we have assurance that that will happen, or is it still?
It's a verbal assurance, but they seem to be inclined to believe they can do it if we get through this process quickly. So
Okay, and we will be notified whether it's a yay or a nay for this year?
Correct, yep, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll keep you informed. Yeah, it was a verbal, yes, we want to get it done this year.
Okay.
So with everything, changing, I mean, it could, but that's what they indicated. So I will let everybody know what the plan is as I get more information from Elmer's and the Road Commission.
And you'll get a
Okay.
written invitation to another public hearing.
Yeah.
And do we need agreement from more of the people who own parcels?
No.
So the district's already been set up. Now it's just for the board to approve the special assessment role,
Okay.
which is, like the trustee Corn had mentioned, there's going to be another hearing in 2 weeks and another resolution for them to approve.
Okay. So at the end of that, will we know for sure the date?
So after that, I communicate with the Road Commission to let them know that the process is all played out. It's been approved by the board. And Elmer's, I've talked with Elmer's. They've been filling Elmer's in that there's some motivation to get this done. So, Elmer's may even have it tentatively on their schedule. I don't know that for sure. I suggested it
Okay.
because I knew that there was real motivation to get it done. They'll know that everything's been approved, and then, it's up to them to give me a date of the Road Commission of when they'd start it.
Because
But
when they did the survey, they're removing a lot of the corner of my property. So I would, it would be nice to know there's a lot of things I need to remove and get out of there in preparation for them to cut that corner.
I think you'll have plenty of warning.
Yeah, for sure.
Good.
Yeah, we'll keep you informed.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Anyone else who would care to speak? All right. We will close public comment and bring it back to the board. But we have a motion to approve Resolution 2025-14-TA.
Sure, I'll make the motion that the proposed amendment to ordinance number 68, Garfield Township zoning ordinance, as attached to the Planning Commission Report 2025-58, be scheduled for public hearing for the July 22nd, 2025 Township Board regular meeting.
That was the,
Correct one? No, that's
No.
not the correct one.
No.
Okay. Where is the correct one?
Right here.
It is
Page
item B,
57.
consideration of Resolution 2025-14-
Then I'll make the motion that we adopt Resolution 2025-14-T and order presentation of Ridgeview Court resurfacing special assessment roll. That's what you want?
We can do that. Is there a second?
Support.
Question.
Yes, we can do A afterwards.
Okay.
All right, we have a motion and support to approve Resolution 2025-14-TB. Are there any questions or comments? Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Augustinelli.
Yes.
McCumber.
Yes.
Lapp.
Yes.
Horn.
Yes. And now, if we could, consideration of Resolution 2025-14-TA.
That was A.
That was B. That's
That
what
was
Molly
B.
said.
You can read the one I read first.
I can't.
Yeah, on the fire hydrant. Catch it.
Chloe, would you?
I'll motion to approve Resolution 2025-14/TA, resolution to order preparation of special assessment roll.
Thank you.
I'll support.
We have a motion and support. Are there any questions or comments? A roll call, please.
McCumber.
Yes.
Lapp.
Yes.
Augustinelli.
Yes.
Horn.
Yes. All right. Next item is a public hearing for the consideration of Resolution 2025-13T, Amendment 1 to the Private Fire Hydrant Ordinance 42. And we have, this essentially eliminates any further private hydrants, and the township will take over the current private.
So that's going to be a work in progress with the DPW and our engineer to do an assessment, an inventory of all the private hydrants that are there, and what does it take in, what is their condition, what is the cost to bring them up to standards, working condition. So there's going to be an assessment done before we go on to the next step of the ordinance, whether it's rescinded or changed. So there's some homework that needs to be done. And so we'll be coming back to the board in the future with a recommendation and what the change should be in the ordinance.
Okay.
So right now, it just, after today, if you approve this, is going to say there's no more that can be installed. So that's all this is doing. It's still keeping into place how they're maintained annually, those requirements.
All right. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Then we will open the public hearing. Is there any member of the public who would like to speak to this Amendment 1 to the Private Fire Hydrant Ordinance 42? Okay. We will close the public hearing. And now I would entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2025-13-T.
I make a motion that we adopt ordinance number 42, inspection maintenance of private-owned hydrants, and amendment number 1 on resolution 2025-13-T.
Thank you.
Support.
We have a motion and support. Are there any questions or comments? May we have a roll call vote, please?
Schmuckel.
Yes.
McCumber.
Yes.
Lapp.
Yes.
And Corn.
Yes. That concludes our unfinished business. On to correspondence. We have a June 10th email from Will Bartlett regarding the Grand Traverse Mall interior. Everybody get a copy of that? I think they did.
Yep.
And the Grand Traverse County road update for the week ending June 13th. Is there a road commission rep here? No. If there's no questions on the correspondence, we will move on to reports. Number 1 is the County Commissioners Report.
Good evening, Lauren Flynn, District 2.
Fern Spence, District 4.
Sorry, I was not here at the last township meeting. I had a couple deadlines I had to catch up on. So we had a study session that following Wednesday. During that study session, we heard from the Housing and Homelessness Coalition more about the task force that they have created. Within that task force, there are 3 working groups. One working group will be focused on safety net services. Another one will be on emerging shelter services, and then the last one will be the housing solutions. They will be, if not in person, but in writing, giving us a monthly update on those meetings and the goals that they're meeting and finalizing. At our last board meeting last week, we did have a Project Alpha update over there for Lafreniere Road, where at the beginning of June, we put the EOC building into design and development. We did vote and move the central operations building. The one change we did is that we brought it out a little bit more and left it where there could be some more room for the future if the plan of moving the full county campus to Lafreniere happens. We voted last week also to enter into a contract with Aurelian to integrate an AI program with Central Dispatch, but this is only for the non-emergency line. I want to ensure that everyone heard that, the non-emergency line. I personally use the non-emergency line more than I probably should as a nosy neighbor sometimes, but it would be probably really good for me not to have to always bother someone and talk to someone, so I really appreciate this and looking forward to this being integrated into Grand Traverse County.
Yes. So to add to what Commissioner Flynn just said, you might already know this, but 60% of calls to the dispatchers are non-emergent calls. So like how to roast a turkey at what temperature. Seriously, someone called and asked that once. So I'm going to report on the June 18th meeting that we had, our last Board of Commissioners meeting. We are going to be starting to use something called OpenGov Asset Management, which is really cool. It's a software program that will help with workflow, asset management of what is in our county buildings, and capital planning software. So we will be able to tell what kind of assets need to be maintained, light bulbs that need to be changed. It'll all be on a software program and spreadsheets. I'm looking forward to it. And so that's coming up. I think it's going to help us run more efficiently and be better organized. Commission on Aging just celebrated their 50th anniversary, and at our last BOC meeting, we were able to get a report on their financial situation and upcoming needs and opportunities and strengths and weaknesses and all that. Oh yeah, you already talked about the AI software. And then the Sheriff's Department is going to be purchasing an ORV for maintaining some of those seasonal roads. There's so much more side-by-side traffic. Similar to Marine Patrol, I think that our areas that are not accessible by vehicles need to be better enforced. So I think we were all on board with that, yes. That's it. Any questions?
All right, you look like you're getting a little sun there, Trustee
A
Quinn.
little bit. Fishing and golf, and it's rough.
Wednesday's my golf night, so I'm looking forward to it. You know how to get a hold of us.
All right, thank you. All right, the MMR report.
Good evening, Amy Fairchild, Operations Manager with MMR. You have the May statistics for us, pretty average month for us. We did a total of 346 911 calls within Garfield Township. Most prevalent, of course, is falls still. 81 of those calls were for falls. After that came sick person, and then kind of went down from there. Our accelerated paramedic class, we're into month 2 of that. We still have all 9 students in there. They are walking around very dazed and confused at this point, but they are still showing up on time and doing their homework. So we're excited to keep them going. They will graduate in March. Also planning an EMT class to start in the fall. Also wanted to thank you guys for all of your assistance and help over my last 4 years. My last day with MMR will be July 11th. But Danny Mossholder will be filling in as interim manager, and they have posted my position, so we'll see who takes over from there. I'll help them however I can. But you guys have been amazing to work with, and we did get in our building on Park Drive, so I'm happy with that.
Good luck. We'll
Thank
miss you.
Thank you. I appreciate all your help. Any questions for me?
Where do we get a hold of you? We need you.
I'll make sure you guys have my phone number.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next report is Dennis Gartland and Nygarth's auditor report.
Hello, everybody. I'm Trina Oakes from Dennis Gartland and Neargarth, here tonight to go over the financial audit for December 31st, 2024. So I see some of you have the actual audit report. It is large, yes. We're just going to go over some of the highlights. So in the actual audit report, if you turn to the first page right after the index, it is the independent auditor's report, and our opinion is at the very top. So we did find that everything was fairly presented in accordance with generally accepted accounting standards, and that is the highest level of assurance that we can provide you as auditors. So that's what's commonly called a clean opinion for the audit. Down below, under the basis for opinions, you'll notice this year that it talks about government auditing standards. So this year, Garfield Township spent some of the ARPA money, both that the township received directly and then also received through the county, and so that triggered a federal audit this year. So we did do that audit, and we had to look at compliance with laws and regulations, as well as internal controls or your policies for approvals to make sure everything was done in accordance with the laws and regulations, and we did not have any findings. So that audit went well as well. From there, we'll flip back to page 8. So this is getting into the management's discussion and analysis. And so if you don't want to read through the entire audit report, I encourage you just to kind of look at the highlights in the management's discussion and analysis. It's a nice summary of the results for the year. So on that page, it gives a net position table for the township. So business type activities are the water and sewer activities, and everything else is in the governmental activities. So total assets at December 31st, 2024 were $86.8 million. That's up about $4.4 million, and of that, about $1.4 million is capital improvements. Total liabilities were $2.2 million. Deferred inflows were $6 million. And then total net position was $78.6 million. Of that, about $35 million, or 45%, is invested in capital assets. So that's items that are not liquid: buildings, equipment, machinery, other improvements. $1.9 million is restricted for specific uses. $13.1 million is designated for sewer and water maintenance and replacement. And then that leaves $28.6 million, which is undesignated and available for general operations of the township. If we turn to the next page, it shows the revenues and expenses. So total revenues for the year were $19.1 million. The largest portion of revenues is charges for services, primarily in water and sewer. That was $8.3 million. Property taxes were $5.2 million. And then total expenses were $13.7 million. Largest spending categories are public safety of $4.7 million and public works of $5.6 million. So overall, there was a net increase in net position of $5.5 million for 2024. And then I will flip you back to page 14, which shows your individual funds. So that's what you would normally see on a monthly basis. Pointing out a few things here. So the general fund is there on the left. The general fund unassigned fund balance was $12.6 million. That's about 260% of your annual expenses, so you have over a year of expenses in your fund balance. Over in the other non-major governmental funds, you'll see a negative $361,000 there. That's related to the Blue Star Road Fund, and it was basically a timing difference. So the township borrowed money from the Public Improvement Fund to make those improvements in 2024. The special assessment roll goes on the taxes in 2025. So you'll collect those special assessments and then pay back your Public Improvement Fund for those. Because that is negative at the end of the year due to that timing, you will have to file a deficit reduction plan with the state of Michigan for that. So basically just telling them that, honestly, it happens quite often with special assessments because counties, cities, townships just want to get those done, and they end up borrowing, which is not really a revenue source until those special assessments start getting collected. From here, we're going to go all the way back to page 42 and look at the budget to actual. So for the general fund for the year, the township budgeted $5.1 million, came in at $5.8 million, so better than budget by $733,000. Total expenditures were budgeted at $4.7 million. and came in at 4.3, so under budget by $403,000. Overall, you were budgeted to have a net loss for the year of $136,000 and ended up with net income of about $1 million. So you did better than budget. There are a few line items over on the far right there where you'll see that the actual spending was in excess of the budget. Those are primarily related to year-end audit adjustments, but overall the total spending for the general fund was under budget by $400,000. Any questions about the financial results? And then I can go over the letter. So there's a separate audit-related communication letter. These are items we're required to communicate to those charged with governance at the completion of the audits. The first page talks about compliance and internal controls again. We did do that single audit. We looked at compliance with general laws and regulations as well as your policies and procedures. On page 2, we had one item, the preparation of the financial statements, which is, we've reported on this every year. Essentially, the accounting standards requires management of the township to prepare the entire audited financial statement and all the disclosures. In reality, we do that for all of our clients. That does require us to provide you with the audit adjustments, the draft financial statements. Those are reviewed and approved by the township, so we're still independent to issue an opinion on the financial statements. Non-compliance with laws and regulations, that deficit fund equity balance, because of the timing cutoff, that is considered a non-compliance, and you'll have to, again, write a deficit reduction plan with the state. There were a few line items in the general fund that were over budget, but overall the general fund in total was under budget for spending. On the top of page 3, just a general recommendation. So the park fund has been getting transfers from the general fund for the last couple of years, primarily related to capital improvements made there. There is a rule under accounting standards that if a fund is not generating user fees that are covering expenses, if it's really just subsidized by the general fund, it should be closed into the general fund. So that's something just to watch as you're going forward, to make sure that the park fund is actually covering its costs by itself. And if it's not, you should really close it into the general fund as a separate activity. And then the boring stuff, the boilerplate language, the rest of the letter. Qualitative aspects of accounting practices. There was a new accounting standard for compensated absences, so accrued sick and vacation time this year that the township adopted. Didn't really have a significant effect. The new sick time law went into effect in March of 2025, so there will be an additional accrual in 2025 for that. In the middle of the page there, the bullets, accounting estimates and the financial statements include the leases receivable, depreciation, and the collectability of receivables. And so we made sure that those were all supported by the records of the township. We had no difficulties encountered in performing the audit. On page 4, it lists the audit adjustments that were posted. Primarily, those relate to recording depreciation expense. We have software that calculates that for the township, as well as adjustments related to the ARPA money and getting that in the correct fund to match it with the expenses for those. We had no disagreements with management, no consultations with other accountants. On page 5, there is a bunch of new accounting standards that are coming out in future years. So the single audit updates. Currently, the federal audit is required if you spend more than $750,000, and that limit is going up to $1 million in 2025 for the township, although you spent all your ARPA money, so you won't need one going forward. Risk disclosures is effective for 2025, and that relates to known constraints on funding that might have a significant effect on future activities of the township. So the example I always give is I do have some clients that have been notified by the federal government that some of their federal grants are being discontinued. So that might be a significant constraint on future funding. The standard requires that you disclose that in your financial statements. On page 6, there's updates to the financial reporting model. That will include some additional updates to your budgetary comparison schedules. Will require you to have some commentary about when you're over budget or how you are in, how your results came out in consideration of your budget. And then disclosure of certain capital assets is additional disclosures related to leased assets, public-private partnerships, and information technology arrangements. And then finally, under other matters, we talk about the additional schedules in the financial statements, management discussion and analysis, budgetary schedules, your schedule of expenditures of federal awards. So all of those were reconciled to the underlying records and found to be reasonably presented. Any questions on that information? I know it's riveting, right? We will help you implement all those standards if they apply.
Very good. And the plan for our negative balance on the thing would be, well,
Essentially, you're going to collect your special assessments and then pay back your public improvement fund.
okay,
Yes.
I feel much better.
Yes. It's just a formality, so.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on our agenda, next report, I should say, is our engineering report. Everyone has lovely spring colors on today.
Yeah. No, I just flew up here from Mount Pleasant, so, well, you know,
Flying
drive the
off.
car like you stole it, right? Shouldn't probably say that out loud. I was following the speed limit. It's all good. Jennifer Graham, Gordy Frazier, and I don't know if I got, I know. Yeah, former police right here. That's great. I'm just incriminating myself. Hopefully you guys got handed out to you the construction engineering report, and just to go through a few highlights. McCray PRV, we are in receipt of the plans presented that everybody has different pronunciations for it, but the Gauthier, that parcel right there near McCray. They're definitely continuing to work with us for providing a site for that PRV, which is great and very exciting. So we're kind of cross-sharing drawings and collaborating on that. Same thing, the booster station, we're finalizing that's intended to go at the Cedar Run tank. And I've already given plans to the DPW for them to review and get final feedback, as I want to get that one buttoned up as well and get that also under construction and kind of have that side of town firmed up. Private hydrant ordinance, thank you for hearing our feedback. I know the DPW thanks you. They're in the audience tonight, and Metro as well. So we appreciate you guys understanding our situation and recognizing the importance of it, and helps just create less challenges and inventory we have to do in the future. So it's good. It is a good decision for your system overall. Master meter upgrades, they've all been done. And again, we can't thank the DPW enough. That project we actually, on your behalf and working with DPW, solicited for bids twice, and nobody was interested, either just because of confined space or just narrow scope and timing. So the DPW staff themselves took it upon internally and got those all installed. And so I actually just sent an inquiry on your behalf to staff just to get an idea and snapshot where we're at now that it's kind of warm and people are irrigating, just so we can gauge it against historical and see where we are at capacity wise. So I will keep you guys informed. Ridgeview Court's been discussed. We, myself, your township manager, DPW director, we have a meeting with Blair Township tomorrow morning just to kind of have a meet and greet and discuss multi-user agreement, because they do send their sewage to Pump Station 6 just south of Applebee's. They ultimately also have some ownership at the wastewater plant. Just operations, how we can work together. I know they're having some staff changes with their DPW, and there's potentially some interest or an opportunity where we can help them in situations. And again, just Chris and our Noah, who's in the audience. I haven't met Nicole yet. Well, you've met Nicole, but just to help with those introductions as well. So that's good. Submitted to Eagle for drinking water again, maybe third time's the charm, so we can access low interest loans. We'll see. Scoring's not out yet. Grand Traverse Commons, we attended a pre-construction meeting recently, so they're moving ahead on that. We're ensuring that the city, the contractor, align with us, coordinate with us for access to that booster station. And we continue to work with your legal counsel, myself, Supervisor McManus, and Manager Barchef had a Zoom meeting with Mr. Nettleton just to work out the lease agreements as far as how we can kind of navigate that, serving the city, and then ultimately, if that district is one that the township themselves take over within the commons, and we serve those customers ourselves. So working through that. Stormwater ordinance is ongoing. River East, you guys have given me very clear direction and promised me you're not going to change anything anymore. So I'm working with the architect, the layout, and no, we're making great progress. I am happy to report. I know Denise, that was a question we brought up at Parks and Rec. We were able to get a hold of Health Department and schedule a visit with them as of next week to do test holes.
Wow, nice.
So, and just vet those soil conditions. So I was very excited that they were responsive.
Great,
And
thank you.
get that moving, but we've already worked through the plans and gotten feedback from staff for the new bathroom and the parking lot we're working on. And I want to have this done like in July to the best of our abilities and try to accelerate our schedule too.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. The trailhead, I'm just working with the contractor on closeout documents, so hopefully to have that to you guys soon. And then the other trail at the Loop, that's into Eagle permitting, and I'm anticipating they're going to be posting a public hearing soon and having that out for 20 days. The sidewalk, most of you have seen, people aren't happy with the traffic control because there's quite a bottleneck there. And then I shared a picture with your manager. Somebody rode their bicycle through our sidewalk last night. They didn't leave their name, though. No. So Elmer's found that this morning. They're going to fix it. It wasn't my kid, I can promise you. So, I mean, there's worse we've seen. And Windy Hills, they're going to be wrapped up with their water main this week. And so we'll do testing, work with DPW to do a walkthrough and punch list on that. So Elmer's has done a great job staying on top of it. And just the Gauthier Olson's property, and then a few stormwater reviews. So we're busy a little bit. So I know staff are too. So I appreciate your time, and we'll answer any questions you guys might have for me.
Thank you.
Thank you much.
Thank you.
The next item is the Township Manager's Report.
Just a couple quick little items. So we are cutting some trees down at Miller Creek and East Silver Lake Park. And we want to consider taking 2 trees down at the township here that are right next to the flagpoles. Back in the day when they were installed, they all fit nicely, but now they're overgrown, and it's actually, our flags are getting destroyed because of the trees. And it doesn't make sense to shave half the tree off to create room for the flag. So we have asked for some bids from 2 companies. We're waiting for a third to also include removing those 2 trees on each side. And the supervisor and I just wanted to kind of get your opinion on the removal of them. Is that something that you feel that we should keep or get rid of them? I just want your opinion as we kind of make a decision to know what to do.
I'll start. I don't want to remove the trees, especially just to hang flags. I'd rather trim the branches.
At some point, they're going to overgrow the poles, and then they're going to be like cut on the sides, and they're going to be lopsided trees at some point. There was also discussion of putting something lower growing below it. Not necessarily a tree, but some planting to replace it.
Okay, well, I'm against removing the trees, but you guys, what do you feel?
I like the trees, but I have seen what he's talking about. After a period of years, you have half a tree, essentially, in order to avoid that conflict. It's not attractive.
What kind of trees are they?
To me, they look like maples.
Yeah, I
Some
think
sort
so.
of a.
They're the big maples, not the little ones.
They're fairly big, and I wondered about like using a tree spade and relocating them, and I was told by the parks guys who are working with the tree guys that that's probably not possible.
There's no spade that big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These are nice, healthy trees.
Right,
that are beautiful.
correct.
So I'm
And
going to vote
moving
no
the
on this if we
flagpole
vote on
would
it.
be Not.
We have a really ugly half tree right on the road next to the township. Take a look at it.
I don't think
Take
you
a
have
look
to.
at
I
it.
don't think you have to cut the tree that much to avoid the flagpoles. But
Not today,
Someday.
but eventually.
okay, well, what do you guys think?
Could we plant some other trees to replace the trees that we're cutting down?
You can, and then like 15 years down the road, the
Figure out
board
the
that's
same
there will
thing.
be making the same
I
decision.
mean, in a different spot.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, certainly. Obviously not in that area, because the ones that are next to them are already getting big too.
Just then you're net neutral on trees, Chloe.
Do you need we don't need to make the decision.
You
right
don't,
now.
and this-
Let's all take a look at it. and
Okay.
Kick around some ideas and see what we can come up with.
You know, the one at Miller Creek should probably get removed sooner than later because it's falling.
Yeah.
And we're worried about somebody getting hit by it. So I think we'll just move ahead and get the two parks done, and then we can weigh our decision on the ones here. Be smart. Okay.
No objections.
Okay, and then in the wintertime, one other topic, in the winter, a citizen reached out to me regarding a traffic issue on Silver Lake between Barnes and the city division. And there was an article by the manager of the road commission talking about a law change, which allows a citizen to petition local government to, or actually come to local government, express their concerns, and then the township could petition the road commission to have a traffic study done and a potential change of the speed limit. So the road commission responded to the citizen on the process. My part of this is having our police department, sheriff department, putting up their traffic signs in the area by the middle school to get traffic going east and west a week each time. So I have that data. Also, the law says that it wants you to consider other factors, not just speed, but, there's, like, in the letter, there's references to the schools, the middle school, the Montessori school, the Glen Lewis School, which is in the city. So I wanted to get crash data from the sheriff department to also let you know what really is going on, and then for you to make a decision on whether you want to work with the road commission, like petition them to do a study. As I wade through all this, there's going to be Frankie Road redone, and that's right in that general area. I would really like to maybe talk with the road commission about considering that whole area and doing a study, and maybe just making the decision on their own to do that, kind of like they did on Cedar Run, about a petition and all that. They just did it on their own. So I'm just bringing this up to let you know I'm doing this, and a citizen may come and want you to make a decision. So this is just FYI.
So under this new law, the state police are no longer involved,
They are involved, yeah. It would be the road commission, the state police,
and the township.
and the township.
What changed?
So the only thing I think of is that the petition part, but I always thought that existed before.
Yeah.
And then also,
I guess it was informal before, now there's a formal petition
yeah, there's like a
process.
petition process.
Okay.
So this is, I just want you to be aware that the citizen made this concern, and we're working on it to address it and give you information if you need to make that decision down the road.
Mhm.
So. And that's all I have, unless you have some questions.
Was the concern to lower the speed limit?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And preliminary data does not show a huge concern with, or huge issues with the speed right in that area. And because during school it's a 45, and also you have traffic starting up and slowing down between two traffic signals. So just by the way, the nature of the setup there, it controls traffic speed.
Yep.
So. That's all I have.
Thank you. That concludes our reports. We move on to new business. Item A is consideration of Resolution 2025-15-T, Emergency Management. And your synopsis, sir?
So this is a resolution that a board approved roughly 5 years ago that's been updated. And it's basically saying that the township feels it's important to work with the Grand Traverse County and their emergency operations plan
Would have said 5 year. What's the change?
Yeah, the change is just data within it, just some language information. We had a $10,000 disaster fund, and the recommendation is $100,000. So that's been up, and our emergency manager is in the audience who can also speak to this.
Could you give us a brief synopsis of the changes, sir?
My subject matter expert.
Good evening, Greg Bird, Emergency Management Coordinator for Grand Traverse County. So state law, it's Michigan Public Act 390 is the emergency management law. It says every 5 years, the county emergency operations plan has to be updated. With that, in the law, every local jurisdiction that has a population of over 10,000 may elect to have their own program and plan to support that, or by law, they can sign or adopt a resolution going with the county's emergency management program. The verbiage within the resolution is verbatim from the state, with the exception of a few updates. This is the third time in my tenure here that we've been taking care of the resolution and the support emergency operations plan, which is basically a lot of redundancy to the county, but it's law, so we have to do it. You have a township manager now, and also the state Section 19 disaster grant fund, and grant is important. If there is a disaster, there is a possibility of a reimbursement process depending on the governor's wishes and how the township would handle their disaster declaration and cleanup. After 2015, when we had our windstorm, I think it was 18, that law changed. In 2015, jurisdictions and counties could receive up to $100,000 potentially in grant funding if they spent that in disaster response and recovery. That's since changed. The counties now can receive up to $1 million, and townships and municipalities like Garfield can receive up to $250,000. The caveat is it's a grant. The other caveat is currently that's not funded. It's empty. All the disasters in the state the last year has depleted that fund. With that being said, state legislation has new laws they're trying to pass now that would not only fund that, but also protect it from being able to be used for other endeavors if the governor sees fit. And that fund would continue to grow and grow and grow. So even if we have a year with no disasters and that state disaster fund sits there, it gets refunded the next year. And continues to grow. So my suggestion was the only change. Trustee Korn, you were the supervisor then, and you were the first municipality in the county that said, we're going to earmark $10,000 for disaster. You don't have to spend it. You don't have to do anything special with it. It's just earmarked. It's the intent that if there's a disaster that affects Garfield Township, you have some monies at hand in savings or reserves that you can put forward. My suggestion this year was the uncertainty of what's happening with the Federal Emergency Management Agency, also the uncertainty with the state of their funding levels and all the disasters that are happening in their funding, and with that law changing to raise the cap to 250, my suggestion was to earmark, raise it. And it can be whatever you want, but my suggestion was to take it from 10 to 100,000 to earmark. But ultimately, I think it's up to you. Take a peek at what your budget is, what your reserves are, and what you could earmark in reserves. By no means does it have to stay there. Again, it's that good faith effort that Garfield Township will attempt to take care of their citizens first before asking FEMA and the state to come in and save the day. So, and if you pass the resolution and then budget season comes and you want to keep it at 10 or you want to move it, it's just a matter of passing the resolution again to change that number. There's nothing if you pass the resolution tonight, if you don't think 100,000 is the number you want, you can always change it or you can wait. You have to have it updated this year. And the support plan changes, mainly it was staffing. You have a township manager, you have supervisors that have changed, and we always need to update that. We update the law verbiage, we take the allowances and the current thing. The county plan was updated this year, so it was just verbiage changes. It gets filed. But then ultimately, the decision is also yours to start your own program. It's totally up to you all. So the township manager and supervisor decided we'd keep things status quo, bring you for approval of a resolution to re-up you for another 5 years. take into account all the changes, and everything on our end is in order moving forward for Garfield Township.
Chris?
In the plan, I was named as the emergency management liaison to work with the county, whereas in the past it was the supervisor, but now that I'm here, those duties would be delegated to me, and they're listed in the resolution. So that's one kind of a change.
I have a question. In this resolution, is it increased to the $100,000?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we never had an occasion to use the 10, so.
No, but
You never know.
tomorrow could be that day.
I wasn't disagreeing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's there, and in a situation where you need to react quickly.
Yes.
Right, exactly.
In your experience, what have townships used that money for, or have they used it?
So I can tell you in our experience in 2015 during the windstorm that affected, the county declared for all of the townships that were affected. The city of Traverse City, Peninsula Township, Acme Township, Whitewater Township, East Bay Township, all suffered damage, and right away they were able to start getting tree removal and debris removal and equipment. The recent ice storm, if you've seen any news, a lot of the counties and municipalities struggled with that immediate response and recovery of getting trees out of the right of way and allowing power companies to go in there. And that led to a bunch of state help us, FEMA help us, and the help wasn't there. I can tell you our governor today, she wants to see the locals taking the step to help themselves. She doesn't put a dollar amount on it, but she doesn't like that jurisdictions play victims, if you will. So I have spent, you're the fourth municipality now, Long Lake just joined, you're the fourth municipality that I encourage, put something in your resolution. And based upon your population and the threats and hazards, as well as with what the cap is now on the maximum, I mean, ideally, because you could receive $250,000 back, I think you should have $250,000. I think every municipality should have that rainy day fund. Because in today, when a disaster, there's jurisdictions in an ice storm, which, by the way, we were 5 degrees temperature-wise from that being us. That's all the difference was. So you can thank the bays for protecting us for that. They went through $250,000 in 12 hours. Jeez. So that's a good segue into your resolution, either having your own program or going with the county. That also puts you in the TAP. It's an automatic mutual aid agreement for if something affects Garfield Township, you have the right, the supervisor has the right to declare a state of emergency or state of disaster for the township. And not that we wouldn't, but you automatically get all the other municipalities and the county's mutual aid agreements, resources automatically because it's all wrapped up in the one program. Does that answer your question?
Yes. It seems like $100,000 could go away very quickly.
Very
in a
fast.
Disaster. That's,
And it doesn't hamstring you to just spend $100,000 if there's needs. It is making that effort within the resolution that'll be filed with the state and with FEMA, that when they see that, they say, oh, this township's earmarking a disaster fund that they can get started right away without saying, help us, help us. And I tell all the jurisdictions that we have a support emergency operations plan. The choice is really yours of what you can afford in your budget to earmark, that if a disaster happened, that when that disaster declaration was signed, that the supervisor automatically has access to those funds in emergency. And Chloe has been an expert at learning that. I remember the last time we did this, I think you were just coming on board and you're like, $10,000? What? We just give that to you? And of course the answer is yes, but no, it's not that. It's the authorization to be able to make those, if it's 3 o'clock in the morning and we need heavy equipment and backhoes, the supervisor or the manager with the supervisor's permission can say, get that rolling, we got money for that. And it's in your resolution that's on file.
I think it's an asset to our citizens, because if we are residents here, because if we haven't, I mean, if we're going to be waiting for FEMA and state funds, it could be forever before we could do anything. So I think $100,000, and like you said, Lori, that could go real quick.
Yeah, I guess I'm curious what the logic was to use 100. Where did you come up with 100,000?
Because it was 10,000, I didn't want anybody to fall out of their chairs when they saw the change.
Just add a zero.
We just added a zero, really.
Good round number.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, do we want to increase it?
Yes.
If you guys are thinking 100,000 is too much.
No.
Or not too much, sorry, too little. Increase
Not
it.
too much.
Yeah, I'm fine with 250. It seems like that would be prudent for an emergency, if that's the max.
It's the max you get reimbursed. I can tell you if there's a disaster hits Garfield Township, 250 is not going to be enough.
Right, but it could get us started, right?
It makes that, especially the state disaster grant, Section 19 fund, it makes that streamlined because you have the attempt and you can, if a disaster happens and there's a $250,000 rainy day emergency fund, for ease, because I have a simple mind, you turn a page in your Excel spreadsheet and you start from that point of that declaration and just keeping track. And then as recovery starts, the state comes in and explains the process. You say, I already have that. And they go, oh, good job. And it's fairly painless.
I agree with Chloe. I wouldn't mind doing it at 250.
We have a healthy general fund.
Right.
And that would be a fine designation, I feel.
Absolutely. I agree.
For
I
it.
agree.
So, how do you feel, Chuck?
I think it's a great idea.
So when I make a motion, could I do with amendment?
Yeah.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt Resolution 2025-15-T, the Emergency Management Fund, with the funds being increased to $250,000.
Support.
We have a motion and support to adopt the emergency management guidelines with increased $250,000 on the emergency fund. Are there any questions or comments? Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Schmuckel.
Yes.
McCumber.
Yes.
Lapp.
Yes.
And Corn.
Yes. It's unanimous.
Any other questions?
Thanks, Greg. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having confidence in the county's program to not have your own program yet. I will caution you that as you approach 25,000 citizens, that could be a different discussion, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. So I'll get you a clean copy.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
The last item on the new business agenda is consideration of the Fifth Amendment to the site lease agreement with New Singular Wireless for the property located at 5600 Heritage Way, Tragic City, Michigan.
So we've talked about this recently as well. This is, we rent space on that water tower for cell tower service, and we receive monthly rent for that rental. And in essence, this Fifth Amendment is extending the lease. Let's see, current term shall expire. It looks like it's going to, the current lease expires in 2026, and this is going to extend it for another 5 years beyond that. And then also, the rent payments will go up 2.5%. Commencing on August 1st of 2027. So we'll get increases at that time as far as the contract continues.
You said 27?
2027. Yeah, so it will be
It's going up 5% now,
Okay. All right, thank you.
but we're kind of getting out of the market.
Okay.
So
Got it.
2.5% is probably closer to the normal inflation rate.
Now I understand. Thank you.
Yep. So I'm just looking for a motion to authorize the supervisor to sign the lease agreement.
I would make that motion.
I would support that motion.
However, I do want you to take my email off the contract, please.
Is it on there?
Yes,
Really?
several
Really?
times.
Really?
Send notices to Seacorn at Garfield.
Oh,
Those should go to,
Steve Barshev.
I haven't sent it to me.
there we go.
So the motion with those subtle changes and
And everything be good. All right. Any other questions or comments? Then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Perfect.
And that brings us back to our favorite public comment.
I actually have something to talk about. Because you were talking about trees, Fern Spence, Garfield Township. So you're talking about trees, and it made me remember that sometimes when I walk up or ride my bike here, the tree branches on the sidewalk are hanging so low. They hit me. And if I were walking, it would be the same. So it doesn't matter if I'm on my bike or if I'm just walking on the sidewalk. But I was going to propose that when you do the tree branch, whatever you end up doing with the trees, that you add that to the work order to, what?
That's actually the road commission's purview.
On the sidewalk? In the inside? It's on the interior of the sidewalk,
Oh,
I think.
okay.
I don't know. You all want to do an activity? We could walk over and look out the window. You can see them.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you.
we do that to keep the speeds down on the bike, so people slow down. Yeah, they duck down. We will definitely take care of that.
Any other public comment? Any other business to come before the board today? Then if there are no objections, we will stand adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Trustee Corn, for taking the meeting tonight.